mom's view. We've had a lot of viewers ask us about adoption, and I have a specific viewer question I will read, and then I'll introduce our guest. Twilight Dancer 11 asks, could you guys talk about your opinions about adoption? Maybe have someone on who adopted a child. Well, today we actually have Deanna Jones on, who adopted five children. And is an author, a blogger, and in a band on YouTube and on the web.
Yes, on YouTube it's Mother the World.
And we actually met you at Playlist, Katilette. And
yes, we met in the ladies' room.
Right.
Great conversation.
We were so excited that you're here in LA and we could have you on the show and talk about adoption. And also we are going to have one of Deanna's sons on the show, Andrew, for the second half to talk about his experience. He's one of your biological children, but he, of course, has siblings from everywhere, from all over the world.
Yes, altogether it's 4 different countries, 3 that we've adopted from Ethiopia, Guatemala, and Ukraine, and Andrew's from the U.S. via birth. Well, we never had that conversation before we were married about how many kids, but we ended up having 2 children biologically. First we had Samantha.
I heard when it was just me.
Yes.
And I got everyone's attention.
What about Andrew?
Sayonara, 14, 15-year-olds. I don't know.
Here, bring us up a bunch of cakes, please.
No, I'm not your waitress.
A few years went by and I just started to get this, I call them the baby yayas. I started to feel like this angst to have another child, but it was for adoption. So we ended up going to Guatemala and adopting an infant. Her name's Matea. We adopted Matea, who was she was an infant at the time.
I want you to meet a friend of mine.
Okay.
Fingers.
Oh. A few years after that, we went to Ethiopia, and you get a little bit bolder each time you adopt, and we adopted 3, a sibling group of 3.
Wow.
Their ages were 5, 6, and 9 at the time.
Hello, I am the president. My name is Jared, and what do you want from me?
Hi,
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm 14 years old.
And then we just got back from Ukraine and adopted a little boy. His name's Alec.
Hi, my name's Alec. I'm 6 years old. I'm from Ukraine.
Each time you get bolder, I mean, we adopted an infant because that's kind of when you first adopt. That's sort of, we just felt like we were called for that.
Right.
Then we adopted the 3, and then Alec is actually HIV positive, so we adopted special needs, and he's a wonderful child and incredible. What had happened was we had I have a big band, and so I do a lot of entertainment, and I'm surrounded by like all this opulence, and people are spending like $500,000 on parties and that type of thing. And one day I just said to myself, you know what, is this all there is? I really feel like we could give back, you know, and I simultaneously had this feeling to adopt. So that's when we sort of moved forward, and our first 3 children are orphaned due to AIDS. So we say that we're affected by it. And now with Alec, you know, he's infected, but he has a great future here in America, where over there in another country they could stop giving him meds and he could actually have died. So it just, you know, we just wanted to extend ourselves, and we wanted to kind of make our lives mean something. I mean, we love being in the entertainment business, and like you said, we vlog now. We have a video channel with our kids, so now we can show people what it's like to have adopted kids, and they're like any other kids.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They really are. I mean, they're amazing.
How is it different? Like, obviously when you give birth to a newborn, you raise them from day one. So let's say if you adopt a child that's already been raised a certain way, how does that work?
That's a great question, because what I found to be so surprising, but of course it makes sense, is that, you know, with an infant, you start to notice like their little signals, even their little cries. When you adopt a 5 or 6 year old, you're like, well, why are they cranky?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and then later on, as you start to parent them, you're like, oh, he always gets cranky when he doesn't go to bed at 7 o'clock, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there are little things that you have to learn. It's a relationship, whereas like, and obviously when you give birth, it's a relationship too, but it's sort of more organic. When you adopt, at first, sometimes, I mean, the idea is so romantic, but sometimes then all of a sudden you've adopted them and you're like, okay, now what?
it's
It's like your love builds and grows. So somebody asked a question, do you really feel the same way with your biological children as with your adopted children? And you do, but I mean, I really can say I forget that they're adopted. But you have to grow into that connection, and in some ways it's so amazing because you don't have this history, and then all of a sudden you build this history and you watch them learn to trust you and learn to love you because it's actually healthy for them to have their little guard up, to go, wait a second, can I trust you?
Because they're adopted, do you feel that they might not be more grateful, but are they aware that they've been adopted and it's such a special...
It's so good because you think, Miya, that like you actually have these you start to think, oh, I'm going to adopt this child, and they're going to be like, yes, thank you so much, I'm so grateful. They're just normal kids, and you have to adopt with like this commitment to know that even if they say, I want to go back to Ethiopia or whatever, that you have to, well, it's a commitment. You know, they have gone through so much tragedy and so much pain that a lot of your expectations, just like with parenting your own biological children, are not really true in reality. I mean, for example, I thought they would be so excited because I brought all these great clothes, you know, because they didn't even get to keep one item of clothing. Like, we had to bring whatever they had on back to the orphanage. So I hand Ella, who was 5 at the time, look, you get to wear this outfit. And she's like, I know, like pink. Oh, like, what? I'm like, you don't even have anything of your, you know, like a pink outfit. No, I like purple.
How come all blondes are like in love with pink?
Yeah.
I'm a blonde and I'm not in love with pink.
But that's not your true color. Mommy, I'm in love with pink and I'm not a blonde.
None of them spoke English, by the way. Very little.
Wow.
So it's a lot of pantomime. And
But in a way, it's great that you let them. I mean, that is really the gift, is that you let them be just normal kids who don't have to be grateful or don't have to think, oh, I have to tread carefully here. That they can be like, these are just my parents, and I can act out, and hopefully they don't too much. But like other, you know, you're giving them that normalcy.
the one huge thing for me was that kids are the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. They really are. They're just, that was what was so shocking to me. They're the same. It's like, well, wait a second, you know, I mean, they want to play, they want to be loved, and the thing is that children who are a little bit older, they really are holding out for mothers and fathers. They're like, will you tell people? They were handing me little letters in my pocket, but they were written in their language, so I had to have them translate. It said, thank you very much. My daughter's name was Edjigayo, her it's her middle name now. Edjigayo Mama, please tell all of your mommy and daddy friends that we need them to come. All we want is mommy. All we want is a daddy. All we want is a family. That's the one. And so they sit. One little girl was like pointing to the airplane in the air. She's like, "Can I go? Can I go?" It was just like,
how did you handle that? I know. I'm like, I can't. How did you choose the ones you chose, and how did you deal with the feelings of, I can't take them all?
I'll gather them all. Hold up.
I know. You feel that. That's why I have 5. That's why I think once you encounter the orphan, when you see them face to face, you're not just somebody who is adopted, you're an orphan advocate. And so my passion now is to tell people, children are waiting. Many times, adoption really is a life or death situation. So we adopted Alec, who is HIV positive. HIV, they now consider a chronic but manageable disease in the state. So if he has his medication, he can live a really long life and maybe even see a cure. However, in a place like that, he could potentially, if he's put in the wrong place, potentially die. So, it was just mind-boggling to me because I sort of had heard those rumors, but I didn't really think they were really true. Adoption really can save lives, and it really does. And he is such a huge asset to our family. He's so lively. He's so amazing. I vlogged about his entire adoption.
I wanted to know how you transitioned from adopting to being an orphan advocate, but it sounds like that's such a natural part of once you see all this.
you don't go in there thinking you're just automatically an orphan advocate, but then you see these children, you just sort of naturally your heart, when you meet them and you realize you may be the only person and the only hope for them, because you're the only one to bring this message and to tell them about this child.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's a huge responsibility, but it's something that you realize you cannot drop the ball on. You have to do something about it.
Well, I feel like it's such a foreign concept to a lot of people too, and like the scares, and it's just really good to see like a normal mom, like not that you're normal, everything you do, I'm like, she's like superwoman mom. Yeah. But just to like put those out on the table, and you know, it just seems that much more doable, and it just, to me before it was like, oh, adoption's for rich people who like can't have kids, or I mean, but really I think the options are open for all of us. And
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Because actually I do think a lot of people have the conception that it is really, really difficult, really expensive.
Yes.
How did, if somebody did watch this video and think, this is for me, what would they do?
Well, it can be really expensive. It usually is. I mean, I could give a ballpark anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. But I will tell you, all of my friends are like, you know, none of them have money. I mean, so we've had to do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, honestly, YouTube now is great. I videotape some mothers, and we were able to raise with this one woman who had like nothing, but she really felt called to adopt this one little girl who also was HIV positive, 7 years old. And we, in a week, just by putting word out and making a video testimony of her, we're able to raise $32,000 for her. And then there's other ways to raise money. I mean, we have sweet like blog giveaways that we do. So and people are passionate. I mean, $10 here, $10 there can add up. Plus, you do get a tax credit. I mean, and then there's grants. I know a woman who, every time she wanted to adopt, she started working at Starbucks, so she would get a $4,000 grant. And the boss, the manager, would go, okay, now your child's home, goodbye, come back when you want to work again. I mean,
that is so sweet.
Yeah, a lot of employers will
give a grant.
Will help, yeah.
And it's so worth it, you know, to just know that child has a home and a family.
Our first adoption, we didn't have to fundraise because we had money. We were doing really, really well. And I realized, okay, I can buy a new car. Or I can make a big difference in the world. You know, I can make an impact. I was sort of getting tired of my comfort and my complacency and just my status quo of, you know, and I mean, we can forego certain designer clothes. We can forego these things in order to really, really have some kind of deeper meaning. And especially as mothers, I mean, it's just such a great way to really kind of challenge ourselves, like, what does motherhood really mean? Are we going to extend ourselves, really extend ourselves, and realize it's not only about birth, it's about advocacy, it's just about being a nurturing person, like you are, you know, it's about mentorship, it's about encouraging others, and adoption, of course, is, you know, a great way to express that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, how long is the actual process? So let's say you make the decision, you want to adopt, then how long until you have the child?
Every country is different. Okay. And internationally, the countries will change too, because they'll be open for adoption, then they'll close. Oh. So my adoptions were relatively quick. I mean, the first adoption with Miya in Guatemala, which that program's actually closed now, but it was like a 7 month, actually most of them were 7 months. With the next child, with the triplets that I call them, even though they're not the same age, it took the same amount of time because they were considered special needs, even though they were healthy, because they're a sibling group, which are hard to place.
Right.
They considered them, and they were over 3. I mean, they were 5, 6, and 9. So.
Yeah, that's amazing to me that you were able to adopt a family. Like, you know, those kids were able to stay together. Otherwise, like, is there, like, how did you adopt the 3 of them together? Was that something that they weren't able to be separated, or?
Actually, I adopted through an agency that will kind of give you pictures and that kind of thing, but somebody had tried to have them in an orphanage with just 2 of them, and then the other daughter, my oldest daughter, was with the grandmother, and the grandmother was like, I can't separate them, because the grandmother had lost, you know, her daughter, but she realized she really wanted them together, so the grandmother had to let go and put them together. But somebody was going to adopt the 2, but the grandmother was like, I can't make this break between the 3 of them. So then the people who were going to adopt the 2 didn't want to adopt 3.
Okay, so you did see that I got eggplant for.
Okay, I don't like eggplant.
I'm not eating it.
You're probably gonna eat it alone. Hey, good. Okay, I'm gonna go fix my movie now.
with that.
I'm gonna go fish.
I can go on a date with Daddy with eggplant.
You guys can eat eggplant.
On our date. We're having an eggplant date.
We can have ice cream for dinner. You guys can have.
We're having an eggplant date. Whose idea was that?
I mean, they consider older adoption like 5, 6, 7, but the teenagers are the ones that are still just desiring a family and believing.
That's so hard too, because I think most people like want to adopt a baby and bring the baby in the home, and it'd be hard to go out and adopt a 14-year-old boy, you know, or a 15-year-old boy.
There's a lot of,
girl.
I mean, we can romanticize this a lot and think that it, you know, I mean, there are parenting skills you need to learn when you're adopting an older child. There are techniques because they project some of their trauma onto you, like saying things like, "I remember I'm not the mommy that did, I'm sorry that happened." But so we have had to take some video classes and some parenting classes because the way you normally parent your birth children is very different with adopted children. Our birth children in America, we constantly want to teach them independence. No matter what age the child is that you adopt, you have to teach them dependence.
Oh,
so it's counterintuitive. You're not supposed to say, "Get off my lap and go and play." It's supposed to be like, "Okay, you're 5 years old, want to sit on my lap and just, you know." It's like,
That's okay.
they're like a big. But that's what you're supposed. They need to learn that you're the mom, and you need to tell your friends too. Okay, I know he's going to her, and her. But we have to teach them that I'm the one who gives the food. And I had to bribe my son with French fries every day because he was like, "Who do I go to for food?" And he loved French fries. So every day for like 3 months, I was getting him French fries.
Well, we actually have one of your sons here, and I'm hoping Andrew will join us now on the couch. And because I think another big question is, how do these siblings all get along? Which we'd love to hear your thoughts on, and also firsthand opinion from Andrew. So we have Andrew, Deanna's son, on the couch with us. On the couch with all
these ladies.
Yes. Thank you for coming on the show and talking to us.
No problem.
So you are how old are you?
I'm 14.
And you are the oldest boy, but the second oldest
kid
in the family.
Yeah.
What's it like having all these brothers and sisters from all over the world?
It can get crazy, especially when we have so many and all around the age where everyone's running around all the time and screaming.
How old is everybody?
Well, the youngest is 6, then 7, then 9, then 10. And that whole age group is...
Up in the air! Up in the air! Up in the air!
You're one of the 2 biological siblings.
Right.
How did you tell your other children that this was part of your plan, and how did you feel about it, Andrew?
We actually took them out to sort of surprise them, and it was just the 2. And I'll let you kind of tell what your reaction is, but we took them out to dinner. We're like, we have something to tell you. Was that?
I was so young at that point where
That's
I was
true.
confused. I was like, what's adoption?
Yeah. Yes.
And so I didn't know what to make of it, but it was awesome.
It was my daughter who was like, "Oh, I'll probably get another brother. I want a sister." And like the baby, Matea is now 7, but she's so much like my oldest daughter. Wouldn't you say? Sometimes there's 14 years between them, but sometimes we even call them by the same name because we get so confused because they're so similar.
Wow.
Yeah.
So people have asked how you tell children that they are adopted, and maybe in this case it's, since they're coming from different countries, may not look the same, it may be obvious, but how do you deal with that?
We believe in not really keeping it a secret, because, and it's great because the kids have each other, and we're surrounded by other adopted kids. So I recommend actually not keeping it a secret because it strengthens your credibility as a parent, because you don't want your children to lose trust with you, because I've heard a lot of nightmare stories with kids, or actually young adults, finding out much later that they're adopted, and then they lose their trust for their family. So just to have the credibility, it does help to support that child, though, if they're not around any other adopted kids, to at least find, you can find a support group, you can connect with people online so that they can see, oh yeah, this is just, a natural thing, you know. But we talk about it all the time because we're constantly promoting and advocating for other kids, and they love that. Right now, as we speak, they're doing a fundraiser for 4 children that are going to be adopted into a family. Yeah.
Andrew, I know you're really young, but one day when you get married, do you think that you're going to want to adopt maybe?
Maybe. It's not something I've really thought about.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
It's maybe too much
That's
pressure.
okay.
What about your friends? How do they deal? Are they nice about it?
Yeah, it seems almost normal, especially in our community. We have so many friends. It's just normal. And my friends have just gotten used to it, just like another kid in our family.
Of course. That's awesome.
So do you ever feel like that there's a competition between, you know, you being the biological and then the adopted kids? Is there ever any?
Sometimes I think there is some jealousy, but on both sides. And I think that's just natural, getting used to the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, kids are kids. So our children, our adopted children, sometimes when they're disciplined and, you know, they will try to throw out anything. And again, you learn these parenting techniques and you're like, okay, well, it's not about the fact that he's, you know, he was born to us. You know, it's about the fact that you just, you know, put the cat in the washing machine or whatever. The thing, you know, this is about, I mean, come on, let's, you know, I'm exactly, we don't have a cat, but, you know.
Right, it's about what you did. It's
Let's not just throw that. And I think parents need to understand when they adopt, because some people have this great fear. They're going to, you know, want to seek out their biological mother. They're going to want to, you know, go back to their country. I expect that, you know. My children, actually, their biological mothers, with the exception of one, are not alive, but they all do have this passion for their home country, and I think that's fine, and we try to encourage it. We're like, well, one day maybe we'll all go as a family, and we'll talk about Guatemala, and what can we do for Africa, and what can we do for Ukraine, what can we do for the children that have lost parents, you know, to AIDS or malaria or whatever. So we try to make it a positive, and we talk, and you always do that. Like, you don't make it like a negative. If they talk about the loss and about the lack, you talk about what's full for them. You're like, isn't it amazing you still have a grandmother in Africa and you have cousins that are there and all of these people here that love you? Isn't it amazing how large your family is, rather than, you know, I've lost everything? Because there's a pain that's there.
There's a grief. And Andrew, I mean, you're so well spoken about your experience.
Thank you.
And I wanted to follow up. You said that there's jealousy on both sides. What, if you don't mind, what is the jealousy that you feel?
I guess it doesn't happen as much anymore, but when I was younger, when we adopted maybe Matea, they have to get so much treatment and care, because as a kid, they don't get as much of that. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, you have to make up for all this time.
And so when I'm one of the only kids, just 2, and then someone else comes in and they have to give so much love to them, I guess it can get a little frustrating, because you're like, oh, remember me?
Yeah, and you have to, as a parent,
too.
And that's just honest and true. I mean, as a parent, especially when you have many children, you have to intentionally make sure that you're getting around to everybody, even when you have 3 or 4.
Right. Well, I think that happens, you know, regardless of whether they're adopted or, you know, it's like you give more attention to the younger ones because they're cute, or you give more attention to the older ones because they're like doing all this school stuff. Or I think there can be that jealousy for sure.
But I think now at this age, you start to really understand, like, they have to get more care so that they understand.
Right.
Such a
And
good
he
boy
helps
with
with that.
attitude.
He helps with that so much.
You have done such an amazing job. He's such a good boy.
He's so good.
You must have all the ladies' numbers.
What grade are you going to be in?
I'm going into 9th grade.
Wow. That's awesome. And you have a YouTube channel, right?
Right.
Tell us about your YouTube channel.
I haven't been I haven't been doing it as much as I would like. It's called Geek Andrew, and I just talk about different things that I like, such as vlogging.
Awesome. What kind of stuff do you like?
Gaming, just, I don't know.
14.
Things a 14-year-old would like.
I don't know about you guys, but I grew up playing video games 24/7 on my PS2, my DS, and my GameCube. Good old days.
That is so fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Deanna. Thank you so much,
thanks.
Andrew.
Yes, thank you.
These lovely ladies are wearing shirts from mothertheworld.org.
Adopt.
And our giveaway, will you tell us about a giveaway?
Yes, well, I'm wearing a necklace that was actually made out of magazines by women in Africa. I'm a volunteer for this organization called Project Hopeful,
and they advocate for HIV and special needs adoption, but they also have a program that gives back to parents and mothers over there who have just found out they're HIV positive or have AIDS, to try to get them to be able to keep their children and stay in the family. So they make these necklaces, again, out of these magazines, and you can find them even in Uganda. A lot of the women in Africa are making them. And then we buy them, and people, what happens is that we sell them for more than we may buy them for, but people often fundraise by selling these necklaces from these Ugandan women, and then that's how we will finance some adoptions.
Amazing.
And the community, this is a way, if you're not going to adopt, you can always give back. And believe it or not, $10, $5 helps. So this is one of the ways that we give back, and it's a great necklace. They come in all these different colors, obviously, because they're just different magazines.
It's so cute.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
So go to our Facebook page and comment about today's episode. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts. Would you consider adopting? Are you adopted? Do you have family members who've been adopted? And we'll pick a comment, and you'll win this necklace, in addition to some other materials from Deanna and from her band and from a book she wrote about adoption and advocacy for adoption.
Exactly.
So
amazing.
Go to our Facebook page. Thank you for being here.
Thank you
so much. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks so much for having us.
This was fun.
See you guys next
Bye,
time.
everybody. Bye.
See you later.